show you guys. You can see what's happening right now. I'm holding myself up against the wall as the water and wind comes in from the ocean. As soon as I go to the other side of this wall, then I'm safe from the wind. So I'm doing this just to show you what it's like. I'm not sure what the miles per hour are, but enough that if I wasn't standing in this way, that it would kick me over.
Parts of our hotel have been falling off into the street and smashing. I just talked to actually some of our camera guys who have been on this side of the building all day, and they mentioned that they keep hearing these loud booms, and that is these large chunks of concrete and the structure that are falling off the hotel and smashing in the streets. We've seen street lights dangling by wires, flipping around and then falling off, even dumpsters rolling down the road. Now, as far as the surge, of course, we've been telling you about that potential for over 7, even 9 feet of storm surge here in Daytona Beach, and we have seen that water get into the parking garage here.
And undoubtedly, you're going to be seeing a whole lot more people losing electricity, and the governor and Emergency Operations Center directors are saying you can expect many Floridians, if not millions of them, are going to end up having no power. And it may not just be for 3 or 5 days. It could be a week. It could even be 2 weeks.
Powerful winds and relentless rain slammed the Bahamas, making it clear Hurricane Matthew had arrived. Snapshots from Great Inagua showed the storm's power. Homes damaged, streets covered in debris, trucks tossed on their side.
The wind is slicing through the Bahamas as the storm gets closer to the shore. Beaches are empty, homes are boarded up, and here on Exuma Island, most of the people are without electricity.
As the storm approached from the south, Nassau resident Jenny Minus evacuated her home and headed to a shelter.
So far I'm okay. I just hope no lives are lost.
The aftermath in Haiti shows the devastating power of Matthew. Buildings in Jeremy are nearly destroyed. Many roofs were ripped clean off.
When I put my head in the windows, but I see outside is very dangerous. Nobody can go outside. I stay home and then I pray God. I say, God, don't let me die.
The death toll has climbed in Haiti, but we don't know the true number. We've actually been getting conflicting reports that range anywhere from 200 people to 600 people. But you're going to agree with us that no matter what that number winds up being, this is a humanitarian crisis. There are so many people that are still missing because the government has yet to get reports from some of the worst affected areas, and the rescuers can't even get to some of these people who need the assistance the most. Thousands of homes have been damaged, if not completely destroyed. So many roads are completely impassable. This is definitely the country's largest disaster since the earthquake of 2010, and so many people have yet to recover from that, even though it was 6 years ago. There was also supposed to be a presidential election on Sunday, and that has been postponed.
Clean-up operations are ongoing this afternoon after Typhoon Chaba swept through the southern part of Korea on Wednesday, leaving a trail of destruction. At least 7 people died and 3 are missing after the region was lashed by torrential rain and powerful winds. Lee Min-young starts us off.
The Korean peninsula is no longer under the direct influence of Typhoon Chaba, but the southern parts of Korea that were battered by the storm are still grappling with rescue and recovery operations. And more reports on the extent of the damage are still coming in. 3 casualties were reported in Busan. Among them is a construction worker who was killed after a crane toppled over, and an elderly woman who died after falling from the roof of her house. 3 casualties were reported in the nearby city of Ulsan, which was also slammed with torrential rain and powerful winds. The General Insurance Association of Korea reported Wednesday the typhoon caused more than $9 million in damages. More than 500 homes have been flooded and more than 1,600 vehicles submerged. Around 230,000 homes suffered power outages, and dozens of cultural properties were damaged. Almost 200 people from 90 households were forced to evacuate, and they are currently staying at local schools and community centers. Industrial plants were also affected by the typhoon. 2 Hyundai Motor plants in Ulsan and 20 other industrial facilities in the area were forced to suspend operations for a while due to the flooding. The storm, which has been downgraded to a tropical depression, is currently affecting parts of Japan. President Park Geun-hye has called for swift restoration measures to minimize the damage. The government also said it is considering designating the affected regions as special disaster areas. If so, local residents would be able to receive emergency relief and special administrative and financial support from the government. The city of Gyeongju was designated as a special disaster area following 2 powerful earthquakes that hit the region last month.
Russia has issued one of its strongest warnings yet against Western intervention in Syria, hinting it may respond with its own missiles. Washington has reportedly been considering limited airstrikes on Assad's forces. The defense ministry in Moscow said such an attack would threaten its troops, who would respond immediately, as they wouldn't have time to work out where incoming rockets or aircraft were coming from. I would recommend that our Washington colleagues carefully consider the possible consequences of implementing such plans. I'd like to remind US strategists that air cover for Russian air bases is provided by S-400 and S-300 air defense systems, whose radius of action could become a surprise for any unidentified flying objects. Washington says its deliberations about possible non-diplomatic options will continue as the Syrian army tightens its grip on Aleppo. Rebels have said they have no plan to evacuate the city, denouncing an amnesty offer by Damascus as a trap. The UN is warning of catastrophe.
In maximum 2 months, 2.5 months, the city of eastern Aleppo at this rate may be totally destroyed. We're talking about old city in particular. And thousands of Syrian civilians, not terrorists, will be killed.
Damascus has said rebels can leave with their families if they lay down their arms, but anyone who remains will face an inevitable fate. Washington has dismissed the idea that Assad would protect people as outrageous, given the high civilian death toll from his forces' airstrikes.
Now for some strange news out of New York City, where a large banner praising Russian President Vladimir Putin was hung earlier today from the Manhattan Bridge. The banner showed a picture of the Russian leader dressed in a suit and tie with the word peacemaker underneath.
Okay, this comes just days after U.S. and Russian negotiations collapsed over the conflict in Syria, leading Putin to suspend multiple nuclear agreements between the two countries. Now, the banner has since been removed, no arrests have been made, and it's not yet clear who is responsible.
Finnish border guard services are investigating 2 suspected airspace incursions by Russian fighter bombers. Sukhoi fighters reportedly crossed the Finnish border south of Porvoo. The Finnish defense minister said 2 such incursions in one day was exceptional, especially from fighter jets. The suspected breaches of airspace, it's impossible for me to estimate on the motives. In the media, a temporal link-up's been made with the visit of the United States Deputy Secretary of Defense, Robert Work. All I can say is that there is a temporal linkage, but I have no knowledge of the motives, and this is naturally a matter which the Foreign Ministry will piece together from the Russian side. The Russian Air Force has been probing NATO air defences for months since relations deteriorated over Ukraine and Crimea. And in September, another long-range Tupolev 160 bomber flew down to near Bilbao in Spain, testing the Atlantic's western approaches before flying home. T-160s have also tested Britain's east coast and flown around the top of Scotland in recent months.
security agency contractor in the US has been arrested and charged with taking top-secret information. Harold Thomas Martin III was detained last August after his home in Maryland, car and garage, was searched. According to a criminal complaint, the US Justice Department has charged Martin, who had top-secret national security clearance, with theft of classified government material. Martin apparently worked for the same consulting firm that employed Edward Snowden when he revealed the collection of metadata by the NSA in 2013. There is, however, no evidence that the two knew each other nor that Martin has betrayed the US. One source says the documents found in Martin's possession contained sensitive surveillance intelligence.
In compliance with a classified U.S. government demand, Yahoo scanned hundreds of millions of emails for specific information, sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. Sources who did not want to be identified say that would have meant a specific phrase in an email or attachment. Some surveillance experts say this is the first major case to surface of an internet company agreeing to an intelligence request by searching all arriving messages. The content of the information intelligence officials were looking for is not yet known. Reuters was unable to determine what data, if any, Yahoo may have handed over.